Welcome to the PFS Podcast. We are Paller Financial Services and are going to be covering various financial topics and current events.
Mark Paller here for Paller Financial. Mark Mogle and I just finished tax season. It was October 15th. We noticed some unconstructive behavior where people were losing more than they were making. And I thought Mark and I would talk about sports betting. Do you think it's worth it, Mark?
My opinion, no. Of course, you can find plenty of people who are going to say otherwise, who are enthralled with sports betting. 9 times out of 10, if not 100 out of 100, I think it's a waste of time. You're spending time, you're spending money, and for every sports bettor that you hear the story of who says, hey, I put 15 down and made 2,200, I just heard that this past week, you also hear stories of people just losing their shirts. And even that individual over the course of the year, I think has just broken even. We'll give him the rest of the year to go negative on his sports betting.
But you see all these advertisements for DraftKings and everything else on TV, and they're giving you a free account for $50. What's that all about?
They're making money and the sports bettors are not. Just like gambling in Vegas, the house wins. These people are consumed by the excitement of it, the thrill of it. I mean, the reality is, we all know, if you ever listen to a DraftKings commercial or a FanDuel commercial, at the very end, there is a 5-minute disclaimer. I'm sort of kidding, but not really. They go through every single state practically that says, gambling problem, call the Nevada hotline, call the Colorado hotline, New Mexico, etc. And so these companies know that people get addicted to this behavior just like any other potential addiction. And so I'm not one to say that, you can't put 25 cents in the slot machine here just for fun, but you got to manage that behavior. And my sense is that most people who get into it try to tell you they're managing the behavior, but in fact they are not.
So they always say that it enhances the experience. It makes the game more passionate because you're rooting for your team that you got money on and you want to make them win. And somehow the person that's placing the bet is supposed to influence the outcome. But it doesn't make any sense to me. What about you?
Well, it doesn't make sense to me at all. The person who places the bet certainly does not have any influence on the outcome of the game, no matter how much they think they might. Unless maybe, this is a sensitive subject, maybe as Pete Rose betting on the game, God rest his soul. And, at some point, I think he probably should have gotten the Hall of Fame. But anyhow, that's a different story. It's not a valuable experience in my mind. I mean, there's so many other things that you can get involved with. For example, like we think about the NCAA basketball tournaments, you have people who get together with 20, 30 friends, whatever, and you have a pool. And you maybe put a little bit of money into this pool and you stay engaged with the game in that method. But this betting on, whether or not a tight end is going to be the first individual to catch a game or to catch a ball in the game, I think it's a little over the top. And you can kind of place those bets on your own without actually having to put any money on the line.
Well, it seems like some of these activities have floated into the stock market now. And now we have people that are doing day trading like they were doing sports betting. And everyone that I've seen that for the tax returns that we prepare seem to lose money. What do you figure about that?
Yeah, I think it's much the same. We live in a day and age where we're adrenaline junkies, whether it's sports betting or whether it's betting in the stock market in the form of day trading or whatever it might be. People need that rush and that thrill, and it's having a significant adverse impact on their long-term success. You're constantly being advertised, especially on Instagram and Facebook, these programs saying, hey, learn how to day trade in 5 minutes and you're going to be an overnight millionaire. So people get sucked in by that stuff. And on top of that, they're saying, hey, you can do it in a half an hour a day. And so it's from that standpoint, it's attractive, but I have never seen anybody over the long run who's had any significant success with it. In most cases, I've seen people at best break even and in most cases actually lose their shirts.
Do you think they even know who they're working against and the institutions that are moving millions and billions of dollars on the trades?
No, they have no idea at all. Most of these individuals don't really study the markets. They're trying to capitalize on little market anomalies throughout the day to arbitrage their situation and to try to just make a buck here or a few pennies here and whatnot. But over the course of the long run, these people end up getting upside down. They lose money. And this idea that you're going to somehow out-trade Merrill Lynch, who's doing $1 billion trade in one day, or these massive institutions that are doing hundreds of millions of dollar trades in a day. It's a little unreasonable. And again, people end up wasting a lot of time and losing money.
Why does the investment community, let's call it the major brokerages, on every TV show, every internet site, promote this concept of trading?
They make money on those trades. It's just the reality. They don't really have a vested interest in the long-term success of you and your family as an investor and trying to build wealth and grow your net worth. All they care is that you're on their platform placing trades, and they're in the process making money on your activity. But as far as carrying it all, I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect to these major firms. They are in business and they are providing a service in a platform on which investors can go out and invest. They can also go out there and trade as much as they want. And those brokerages are more than willing to allow individual investors, traders, to do that day in, day out, again, because they're making money. You just got to be aware of it. Who's making money, and are you actually winning? Likely not.
Yeah. The interesting concept of trading versus investing, and thinking about investing in a sector, a theme, a business for a long-term perspective. From your perspective, who do you see that makes most of the money when they put money in the quote-unquote stock market?
Yeah, there have been all kinds of studies on this. Day traders almost never succeed in making long-term money. The people who succeed over the long run are investors, people who understand that you're hitching your wagon to these companies, to these sectors, to these themes, real companies that are producing products and services that everyday individuals like you and me buy, and they're creating value in the marketplace. Investors who can drown out the noise and say, I'm not going to listen to what's on the news today, but I'm going to invest in the underlying value of these companies, of these sectors, of these industries, and hitch my wagon to those companies, sectors, and industries. Those are the ones that succeed the most. In staying involved and in the game, it's not even so much about picking an individual stock or an ETF or a mutual fund, although there are certainly some that are better than others. Generally, where we see great success, it's those who are willing to stay in the game and invest over the long run, and they do really well.
Yeah, it's fascinating. We have all types of different strategies, methods, processes to assemble compilations of assets that on a historic basis, we can see that they perform. And sometimes they perform at different frequencies and different times, but the investors usually come out ahead. And especially on a long-term basis, even if you have a little bit of pullback, sometimes it's a buying opportunity. Well, there you have it, folks. Investing versus gambling. Day trading is gambling. Investing long-term. Let's have some predictable success on a long-term basis. The information presented is not intended to constitute advice. We relied on sources we believe to be bona fide and accurate. Each person is responsible for exercising independent judgment in determining whether the information provided is appropriate for themselves.